So, Andrew Mason, do we have
Yes.
an answer for everyone? And how can the Denver Broncos continue their winning streak while also stopping their opponent in their winning streak?
Yeah. The Vikings are the hottest team in the NFL.
Right.
How about that?
Who would have thunk it, especially without Justin Jefferson? I believe they're 1-4 with Jefferson and they're 5-0 without him.
Uh-huh. Exactly right.
Interesting.
And Justin Jefferson is officially questionable. However, he had a press conference this week.
Right.
And usually that means if you do the press conference, you're playing in the game, right?
Yes.
That's what we call a tell.
That is a total tell. Hi, Mace. I just saw you in the locker room. We're dealing with the Broncos schedule. I did tweet it out, but for our YouTube audience who may not be on Twitter, only 4% of our audience is on Twitter. And the numbers are dwindling by the second. But anyway, so if you didn't catch it, we're dealing with the Broncos schedule.
People don't like the way Twitter is being run, understandably so.
Yeah, they didn't like the way it was run before. So it's kind of a mess right now. But I guess Threads is blowing up. That's what the kids are saying. You're on Threads, Mace. I'm not on Threads yet.
Yeah, but here's the problem. They need an iPad app. And also it's clear they launched it as the beta version, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. If Threads could just make it look like Twitter and feel like and operate like Twitter circa June 2021, fine. Perfect. That's all we're looking for here.
Right. That's all we want. And we want the Denver Broncos to continue their win streak. So Justin Jefferson should play.
Mm-hmm.
But I asked you this morning on Schlereth and Evans, who's the bigger concern? Because there's another concern on that offense besides Josh Dobbs. Plenty of Josh Dobbs talk today. But there's another concern that I think could be more dangerous than Justin Jefferson.
You're talking about Jordan Addison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
him or TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, either one of them. Now TJ Hawkinson, I think we can say maybe we're still in the afterglow of the Broncos containing Travis Kelce on October 29th. But Dalton Kincaid was getting open last Monday night. The rookie tight end for the Buffalo Bills, the first round pick that they have. What I'm saying is that while the work against Kelce in week 8 certainly showed progress against the tight end position, the Broncos aren't out of the woods yet. And against the Chiefs and Travis Kelce, the rest of the pass catching complement is so shaky. You can focus on him and be okay. That wasn't the case with the Bills. And certainly with Justin Jefferson returning, Jordan Addison in there, it's not the case with the Minnesota Vikings.
Right. So I think Fabian Moreau is going to get tested. Jaquan McMillan will be tested this week. And Pat Surtain should lock down Justin Jefferson like he did with Stephon Diggs. And it's Jefferson's first game back. So we're dealing with 85% Jefferson compared to Pat Surtain, best corner in the league. So it's the auxiliary guys. It's the running backs out of the backfield as well. Something that the Broncos defenders are aware of because you and I talked to plenty of them this week in the locker room.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of what they're going to do. I mean, don't forget, you've also got Alexander Madison, who's caught 24 passes this year as well. Like he's got.
We'll see if he works through the concussion protocol.
Yeah.
It might be Ty Chandler this week. Javonte Williams, college teammate.
Yeah. Speaking of Javonte Williams, college teammate, did anybody claim Michael Carter?
Yes, the Cardinals did. Which I was thinking, like, if I'm the Broncos, why don't I'd love that Tar Heel duo here again, dude. That was a pretty good duo for North Carolina.
In some ways, Michael Carter was better than Javonte Williams at Carolina as well. You and I recall watching him down at Senior Bowl practice back in 2021, and he looked pretty good. And he looked pretty good. He had some breakaway runs then, but the Jets. But anyway, if the Cardinals claim him, the Cardinals are a higher waiver claim priority than the Broncos. So not really a surprise, I think, that the Cardinals would jump on Michael Carter. Take advantage of that waiver claim priority. Frankly, I'm surprised the Broncos did not take more advantage of the waiver claim priority earlier this season when they were sitting there starting the season with a number 5 priority, and then for a moment there had I think the number 1 and number 2 priority on the list.
For just a brief moment they did have that. They didn't do that, and they stuck together. And the stick-to-it-ive Mace, we didn't really dive into
persistence.
I did by myself.
It's persistence, by the way. I hate when stick-to-itiveness. I hear that from broadcasters.
You hate stick-to-itiveness? You hate that?
Because it's a mashed up word. There's persistence says the same thing. That's a word. I'm having all sorts of grammar and syntax thoughts today.
You are. Wow. Okay. I will remove stick-to-itiveness. So the point is to get off the grammar police thing.
I like grammar police. Yes.
It's the persistence that this team has used to stay together, something that I got into by myself. I haven't been able to pick your brain about it, though. Like, that to me is the key for this turnaround, is they stayed together. They had faith.
Well, and I'd also say they're developing resourcefulness and adaptability. You look at Russell Wilson's shovel passes in the fourth quarter on Monday night, it doesn't have to look elegant. You're just focused on the result, getting from A to B. It doesn't have to be everything on script, everything perfectly done. It is about confronting the challenge in front of you and making a quick decision and getting success from that. Russell Wilson, frankly, over the years, is better when he's in that mode than when he's trying to stay on script and on schedule. Now, because of that, it probably limits his effectiveness when you're looking at some of the long-time Sean Payton quick rhythm timing concepts in the passing game. And it's why you probably can't really look at Russell Wilson and say, okay, he can do all the Drew Brees things. That's not necessarily a tool he has on his belt. But the ability to be adaptive, to improv, to operate beyond the structure of the play design, that's something he's always done well. And I thought you can look at those shovel passes and look at the work on the touchdown pass to Courtland Sutton. That's where he flourishes. That's where he excels.
Yeah, and Mace, I will say this. I think it's him doing it, but it's coaching telling him to do it. Like when Russell Wilson breaks the pocket and that play presents itself, we've seen him in the past like point to the guy to block. Now he just flips it to him. So I think that's coaching. And I'm glad that he's listening to coaching if, in fact, my theory is true.
Yes, that it would be interesting. And maybe it's coaching recognizing, all right, Russ, this is what you do best. And it's Sean Payton letting go of having things kind of be perfectly on rhythm and accepting that this is the skill set that his quarterback at the current time possesses. How do we maximize this? That's good coaching. If that's the case, it's like John Fox accepting what Tim Tebow was 12 years ago and saying, all right, let's figure this thing out and let's see how long we can ride it. Now, that is one thing, though. Eventually, when you're making these kind of adaptations, eventually teams figure that out and play to that and force you into weaker moments. And we'll see if some of that happens on Sunday, because this is a nice transition to talk about the Vikings defense and how many looks they're going to throw at you and how often they're going to blitz. Brian Flores is going to mix it up and he's going to attack Russell Wilson. He's going to try to put him under duress. And Wilson at times this year has not done very well when blitzed.
Right. Mike McGlinchey talked about the complicated looks from this Vikings defense. Here's what the Broncos starting right tackle had to say.
They certainly do. They're a complicated defense. They bring a lot of pressure. They have a lot of great individual players within that pressure and scheme. And it's a challenge for us to be able to, stay on our task and do what we need to do to win the game up front. The good thing is that we're at home, and it certainly would be a lot harder to play in this defense. Not being able to hear in Minnesota. I've been up there a couple times. It's pretty loud. So fortunately, we'll be able to talk to each other. We'll get it right, and we're going to be focused all week on our tasks and our keys and making sure we're controlled in the chaos.
Isn't it great how the offensive line is taking ownership of just like, hey, it's on us. We do our assignments, we'll come out ahead.
Yeah. It's great that you're hearing that. It's also great that you have a line that has cohesion and stability, and that's the sort of thing that allows them to be adaptive and to operate well. The communication up front, much better than it has been. And the simple reason is that you've had the same offensive line for the first 9 games. Knock on wood, with Ben Powers returning to practice today from his foot injury that we'll be talking about it being 10 for 10 with Ben Powers in there on Sunday night. Everything is trending toward Powers playing, even though he did not get on the practice field until today.
Yeah. So we shall see what happens up front. And I feel Powers is the type of veteran where he doesn't need a lot to play. It's like Jamar Chase. Okay. Jamar Chase was not practicing at all. And the Bengals, that was the talk when we went in the locker room today, is like all the Broncos were talking about Joe Burrow being done for the year. So,
yeah. And you know what? I think we should probably touch on that briefly because that does have some Broncos impact as well.
Yes, very much so.
Let's talk about first Cincinnati sitting at 5-5. I think it's fair to say that their chances of being a division champion sailed away. They are 3 because they are they're 2.5 games back of the Ravens in the standings, and they lose a tiebreaker because the Ravens swept them. Over the next 7 weeks, this is Cincinnati's run into the end of the season.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Minnesota, at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City, Cleveland. They play 7 teams, and none of them have losing records right now.
Are they going to win a game?
It's possible that the Bengals lose out. They may be out of the playoff conversation entirely within 3 weeks. Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville, Indianapolis. So that the impact for the Broncos is very simple. You're taking a playoff contender out of the mix. Now, the ancillary impact is you look at a bunch of those games, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh twice, by the way, and Cleveland, and those are the Broncos' competition for wild card spots. So you're taking a team out, but you're giving a win, or in the case of Pittsburgh, possibly 2 wins. That's going to help them. I feel very good about your Steelers being in the postseason. And thus, I think we're looking at a scenario where the massive games come going forward. If the Broncos can win on Sunday, that's the thing. They've got to start by winning this game.
Right.
But if we start having a playoff conversation, if the Broncos win on Sunday, you're looking at the Cleveland game being massive, the 2 Chargers games being massive, and maybe that Las Vegas game in week 18 on the second weekend of January, meaning everything. We'll see. It's a ways off. It starts with winning on Sunday, but you take the Bengals out. The Bills have a rough schedule, although they don't have the issue with the major injury of the quarterback. They've got significant defensive injuries, and let's see what happens now that they've made the change at offensive coordinator after firing Ken Dorsey on Tuesday. I feel Dorsey got scapegoated maybe a little unfairly here.
Very much so. Very much so. So the Bengals losing Joe Burrow has some benefits for the Broncos, but it also hurts the Broncos as well because their common opponents for the wild card spots are going to get those wins as well. And that's why, Mace, I say there's no room for mulligans. Yes, I don't expect them to win out, but this line, what is it, 10% chance of making the playoffs? 6%? Whatever it is, like
I saw 6 one place, I saw 11 another place.
Okay, yeah, I saw my neighbor last night, and he was like, "It's a 6% chance." I'm like, "It's still a chance, right?"
Is your neighbor a mailman?
Still a shot.
Is your neighbor a mailman Bill Tobin's mailman back in the day?
Right. So my mailman knows more than Mel Kiper.
Oh, that's a deep cut right there.
94 draft. I think that's when it took off, man. That's when it took off for me, certainly in terms of like paying attention to the draft.
Well, it went to the soap opera level that year.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I would say happened in the 94 draft.
Right.
It was a good draft. It was a pretty deep draft, but it also, in terms of storylines, it went to another level that had this element of melodrama to it, where the broadcast and the media personalities themselves were becoming part of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was in a senior in high school that year.
St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah, the Trent Dilfer pick was the big one for the local team back then. I admit I wasn't happy. I wasn't really sold on Trent Dilfer as a prospect.
Right.
And he did okay. He had one really good season in Tampa Bay, and then he rode Baltimore's defense to a world championship, right? But he could drive you crazy, man. He made like some of the decisions he made. Like,
this isn't Fresno State.
Yeah. I think I would say he was to me what maybe like a Drew Lock or a Jay Cutler would have been to Bronco fans. Mm-hmm. Like you could see the potential, but and sometimes, man, what are you doing out there?
Right. Why are you making those decisions?
Come on. Think.
Just think.
All
Gabriel
right.
asks on Facebook, how does the defense change with K-Jax back in the mix and Locke still injured? Kareem Jackson talked this week. Let's hear from Kareem first on the league discipline and just kind of the gray area, whatever it is, and then discuss Kareem Jackson's return for the Denver Broncos.
Real quick, just to preface this, I asked him if he had received any feedback from the league when he appealed his suspension, right? What did they tell him? This was his response.
Not at all. Still looking for clarity on the rules. A lot of gray area when it comes to the rules that has been put in place, in my opinion. Nothing's black and white. I've had several conversations with Ryan, Derek Brooks, and still hang up the phone with no answers. So for me, it's I'm unsure as to how I play the game going forward, because like I said, I'm going to be in those situations 2 to 3 times every week. So for me, it's just try to lower my target and hopefully don't end up in the same situation.
This is a problem.
It's a big problem
that the league, that's adjudicating this can't offer somebody clarity. He's looking for feedback, and it's an honest question to ask. Okay, how do I avoid this? He doesn't want to keep getting fined. And look, if he does keep getting fined and keep running the risk of ejection, suspension, keep getting penalties, then yeah, it's going to be PJ Locke out there when he comes back from this ankle injury that he's dealing with. So this is the thing. If the league can't offer him clarity, there's something wrong with how this punishment and all this is being administered, right? That's the thing. Mm-hmm. All he's asking is, what can I do to avoid this going forward? And if they can't give a clear answer, that's a huge problem. I mean, they're asking him to follow rules, but they don't even know what specifically they want him to do, right? So what are we doing here? I've been saying that a lot today. What are we doing here?
It's kind of like Twitter. We don't know the rules, and it's just kind of whatever anybody decides, whatever the league decides, whatever Elon decides. Like, yeah, and it's sad for Kareem, who is a good man, who's a hard hitter. He's kind of, from the past to today, and the league is all about player safety because they don't want to get sued.
You said that this morning, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, because that's what I believe. The NFL as an entity is not my favorite because they usually lie about what they want money, which, whatever. That's a whole different subject, but like.
We could say that about a lot of big businesses, Cease.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's for our other podcast. We're gonna have a podcast about that. We got to know about how do they beat the blitz? How do they counter the blitz? Russ is gonna get. They should stuff the line, stack the line, stuff the run. I messed that up. So what do they counter the blitz? Draw plays and screen passes are my answer. What's yours?
They're my answer as well. And the interesting thing, of course, is we've talked about how maybe Jaleel McLaughlin needs to be used as a decoy this week. It may not be the week to try that because you're going to need him on the screen game. But the thing is, I would also offer this. If they see Jaleel out there, you imagine the Vikings are going to attack. And then it may mean that Russell Wilson gets hit. Like, Russ may have to brace himself for a little contact. But if you put Jaleel out there, get him into the flat as quickly as possible, and then just hope that Russ can get the ball out quickly, and then Jaleel can take advantage of the numbers. Marvin Mims Jr. also mentioned something today. He talked about the way the Vikings defensive backs play back. They give you some space. So this is all about yardage after the catch. For Jaleel McLaughlin, yardage after the catch in the screen game. For Marvin Mims, yardage after the catch, especially if they blitz and you've got kind of just a quick slant, hot read. This is the kind of thing that can cause some problems. Maybe this is a game where you're talking about those two explosive rookies making plays and making people miss. This might be the kryptonite against a Vikings defense that's going to be aggressive in the front seven, but is going to lay back on the back end.
I can't. And the Mims patience, the conversation about him being patient, you can tell there's a fire burning with that young man. He's not going to say it publicly, but damn it, he wants the ball. And I love that. I love my receivers like that, man. There's nothing wrong with, hey, I'm the man. Give me the ball.
He understands the right thing to say publicly.
Did you see his eyes?
Oh, there's a fire there, man. Well, I'll have to make sure. We couldn't get those clips turned around fast enough, unfortunately, but I'll post a couple of them.
Tag me on Twitter so I can retweet that stuff.
I'll post a couple of those on social this weekend. I always like our chats that we have in the locker room because he's extremely intelligent, and I'll tell you, like that dude, if he wants to go into broadcasting somewhere down the line, he's got a future in it because he can take concepts and explain them very clearly to the layperson. So, but yeah, there's a fire there. Like he wants the ball. Oh, he understands the situation, but he wants the ball, and he views the setup this week as an opportunity to make some big plays. I think everyone out there in Broncos country can agree. You gotta feed number 19.
Yep.
Give him some shots.
I would quote Jack Nicholson in Batman 89. Wait till they get a load of me. Wait till they get a load of me. By the way, do you know who my favorite Bronco is now?
Who?
Because we talked to him, baby.
Lucas Krull?
Yes, we talked about Krull. He's like Star Wars before Star Wars.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Let me just say this.
It was off camera because I didn't. If I would have set that up on camera and he hadn't watched it, Mace, it would have been kind of embarrassing. So when the cameras were done, I was like, "Hey, quick nerdy question: have you watched the movie?" He's like, "Krull." Yes.
He lit up too when you asked him that. It was. I think you and Lucas Krull had a shared moment right there.
Sorry. I'll take that.
I love working this shared moment, and that's cool. But yeah, it's good. It's good to see that he dove into the past because Krull is well before Lucas Krull's time.
Yeah, but his dad sat him down and watched it. So Papa Krull, wherever you're at, good job, man.
Yeah, Papa Krull. I wonder if Papa Krull was there on Monday night. That was for Lucas Krull making a big regular season Broncos debut out there. Even though he didn't have any receptions out there often, we'll find out tomorrow if he's playing again or not. I would like to see him out there. I do wonder if the need to emphasize protection against the blitzes that the Vikings are going to throw at Russell Wilson means you're going to have to maybe not have a primarily pass-catching tight end out there. But, I think Krull brings a really nice element. He was really active on special teams as well, and he wasn't a liability out there. So if it's up to me, I'm using a practice squad activation on Krull on Sunday night.
Now, Mace, before we're out of here, and I got to run, I apologize to everyone. I'm not going to say the word, but I did find some synonyms for persistence. Shall I run down some with you?
Please do.
Perseverance, tenacity, determination, resolve, resolution, resoluteness, staying power, purposefulness, firmness of power, firmness of purpose, patience, endurance, application, diligence, sedulousness, dedication, commitment, doggedness, persistency, pertinacity, assiduousness, steadfastness, tirelessness,
Assiduousness, maybe?
Assiduous. Did I say assiduous? I better be careful with this one. Indefatigability, stamina,
Indefatigable.
indefatigability,
Indefatigability.
indefatigability, intransigence, obstinacy, intransigence.
Now we're getting pretty far afield.
Wait,
we get to obstinance here. That's something different entirely.
The continuance. But here's the thing: the phrase that you do not want me to say is on this list of synonyms for persistence.
Stick-to-itiveness.
It is. It's from Oxford. So blame Oxford. Don't blame me, baby.
It starts with saying that it's fine, and actually some people believing that it's hostile to end a text message with a period. It starts with this. It goes to where they're just being conjured up. Where does it end? Right? Where does it end? That's
it's tight.
Of course, I'm as guilty as anyone. I use made-up words from The Simpsons as a pop culture reference, a perfectly cromulent word. Like
things are coming up, Milford.
Millhouse.
Sorry. God bless America. You almost got the F-bomb from me. You almost got it.
Oh man, we went off. It didn't take us long to go off the rails today.
Usually doesn't.
We didn't even get to Quinn Miners talking about how he put on 10 to 15 pounds in the off season.
Let me play that before we're out of here.
Let's play that beautiful bean footage. I asked him about it.
The biggest thing for me in the off season is trying to self-reflect on kind of what I think. And so what I was thinking was that I was trying to maintain a weight that maybe wasn't realistic for me. For me, as the season goes on, I like to gain weight as the season goes on. It gets a little colder. You're not sweating as much. Eat a little bit more. Like that's kind of how I've always been. I've always gained some weight throughout the year, and so I was kind of not really able to do that.
There you go. There's Quinn Miners.
Yeah, it was a combination of him and what he felt he needed to do, and the team saying, "Yeah, we think you're going to play better at a higher weight." And then Sean Payton even talked about it this morning as well on his conference call with local media. You're seeing the results out there. Yet another log on the fire of everything that went wrong last year, asking Quinn Miners to shed weight and become a different type of player that did not suit his skill set. Look, Cease, you and I talked about this in the offseason. I think it was one of the first things we talked about with Sean Payton coming in, that quite possibly the player who would benefit most from the Sean Payton hire is Quinn Miners. And he's looking like a Pro Bowler right now, the way he's playing. And that wouldn't have happened if you had status quo from last year. Would not.
No, not at all.
In a lot of ways. Not only coaching, but also the body type the body size that they were asking him to be. He doesn't really want to make jokes about the belly anymore, but he does need that center of gravity, and it gives him he gets a lot of power from that. So
be yourself. Like, hey, we're nerds. Of course we're going to ask Lucas Krull about Krull. We're the only ones in that whole media room that would even know what Krull is.
Maybe Johnny Kurt from Channel 9.
Yes, yeah, Johnny, of course.
Johnny would know too.
Number one in our hearts.
Yeah, because he's been around here for a minute.
All right, that's a wrap, everyone. Mace,
good week.
Denver, at Cecil Lammy. Let's flip and go, Broncos. OBT is a BFD, and we appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?